All right, I think we can get started. So I'm going to record this so we can post it if anyone else who's not able to be here wants to see it. So welcome everyone to the Polaris 7.5 features webinar. My name is Luke Patterson, and I'm here with Will Lugene, and we're the systems administrators here at Buckles. Margaret is also here from the Buckles office. So we're really excited about the features in 7.5. I'm just going to go through what we're going to cover. We have a weeding workflow and approvals process now. We have custom URLs in the utilities menu, a waiver request workflow, age display in the patron record, schedule clearing of object locks or record locks, a timeout for LEAP staff, pickup areas such as curbside or locker, a way to declare declare items damaged, and damaged item check-in. So one thing we want to say, though, is a lot of these features aren't live yet. But we want
Luke, sorry to interrupt. Do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. All right, you guys can all see this?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so these are all the agenda items we're going to go over today. But with that being said, there's a lot of these features that aren't live yet or that aren't configured. So the upgrade was done in November of last year, but some of these features require further development to work in our environment, being a consortium, and then some features need to be reviewed and approved by PMP with accompanying policy development. We really want everyone's feedback during this, as you're the primary users of LEAP and the ILS. So your feedback is really valuable to figure out how to make it work best for the consortium. So we're going to have polls available throughout the presentation that so we can record what everyone's thinking. And then at the end, we're going to share this with everyone. So everyone will have those in a spreadsheet. So we're going to get started with weeding workflow and approvals. So Will's going to go into that part.
All right, let me go ahead and share my screen really quickly so we can go and get started with this. All right, so first up, we're going to talk about the first feature, which is weeding workflow and approvals. This is going to be an interesting new way to do a different workflow when it comes to kind of communicating with everybody in your library. It's putting up focus on supervisory staff members versus like a normal staff member, and we'll kind of go into that as we talk about it, and then we'll also demo it as well. But just to give you a background of everything, first up, the staff with a supervisory permission can create a weeding template within Polaris LEAP. After that, the staff without the supervisory permission can use that weeding template that was created to identify any items for weeding and place them in a record set so that they can be reviewed by the supervisory staff member. So once they are able to see that record set, they can either approve it or deny the weeding of those records within the record set. So this is going to be kind of an interesting way and a new way for you guys to figure out how to weed certain item records. And we're going to go into this now by doing a quick demo of it within LEAP. All right. So for this, I already signed in, but we're going to be logging into LEAP test. For the sake of a lot of the examples that we're doing today, we're going to be using a supervisory staff member and a normal staff member account. We're also going to be using two different libraries with Livingston and South Orange. We're going to use Livingston for this example specifically just because they have a lot more items that we can kind of demo this example and this feature with. So in this case, I'm already logged into my supervisory staff member, and we're going to start off by explaining how you can be able to create a weeding template. So as you log in, you're kind of greeted by this normal LEAP screen, as everybody would know. The first thing that you're going to do is click this new drop-down menu. And then you'll notice that there's a thing for template now, and then there's this another section for weeding that kind of pops out of there as well. So if we want to click and continue to create a new weeding template, we're going to go ahead and click weeding. And for some reason, there's this glitch that continues to happen. So I'm just going to continue to click through these really quickly. And here we go. Now we're on the weeding template. So this is what this is you're going to be greeted by within the screen. The first things that you're going to want to do is you're going to name your weeding template. You have an owner drop-down menu here as well, so you can set which owner you are. Since we're only using a Livingston staff member, we only have these two options. And then we're going to set the mark items withdrawn. So first up, we're going to name this weeding template. I'm just going to name it Livy Old, and the main purpose of this example for the template is we're going to be using a weeding template for any old juvenile fiction books. So I'm going to go ahead and do Livy Old Jew fiction. All right. And then from there, I'm going to set the mark items withdrawn to at approval so that we can go through the process of what the approval situation looks like. We're going to leave our owner at the library level for Livingston. So once that's all set up, we can go ahead and click save. And now we can get started with our weeding template. So now that it's created, the main thing that you're going to want to look at is the add criteria button. This is going to be a really important tool that's going to allow you to define the specific criteria that is needed in order to have an item be weeded based on the weeding template. So I'm going to go ahead and click add criteria, and you'll be greeted to this new screen. Here we can name our weeding criteria. Again, I'm just going to name it as Livy Old Jew Fiction. And then that should be that for that. We're going to go into the inclusion criteria section here, and this is where we're going to be entering in this particular criteria. Now, it's going to be really important to remember this when we're using the inclusion criteria. The way that the Polaris Leap reads everything is it's going to look at it by a power search. So we have to get those power search terms by using the find tool, and I'm going to go explain that now as well. So I'm going to click the find tool. We're going to set this to item record, and then we're going to set our parameter over here. We're going to change it to assigned branch so that we can look for items specifically in Livingston. So I'm going to scroll down here, select Livingston, and that should be that for the parameters. Then we're going to have to set up our search filters. So this is going to be an important thing as well. I'm going to click here to set our search filters, excuse me, and then we're going to add our conditions. So I'm going to click the add condition button. The first option that we're going to click here is we're going to make sure we look at the first available date. So I'm going to scroll down and look for first available date. I'm just going to set this to an arbitrary, very old year for it to start off from. So we're going to put 1900. And then we're going to look for items that are 5 years or older. So I'm going to type in 2019 in this case. We're going to add another condition where we're going to do it for also last circulated date, so we can see any items that haven't circulated for 5 years as well. So again, we're going to set this to 1900, and then we're going to set this to 2019. Lastly, since we're making our weeding template on a particular collection, I'm just going to select collection here, and then we're going to type in or select juvenile fiction, since that's the collection we're pinpointing in this example. Once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and click apply. Now that everything is essentially set up, we can change this basic search to a power search in order to get our terms. And now that we have our power search, all we need to do is copy. We're going to cancel out of the find tool and then paste it into this inclusion criteria box. So that's essentially how you can get your terms from the power search using the find tool. If you want to make sure that everything is valid, you can go ahead and click the test criteria button. This is just going to test to see if your search is actually valid and it's actually going to work. And from here, it's saying it's a valid search, considering the fact that we just used the find tool for that. Below that, we have some other filters as well, where you can specifically set certain times of measure if an item is newer than a certain amount of months or older than a certain amount of months. And then you can also look at circulation statistics as well with this, where you can look at the lifetime circulation or the year-to-date circulation for a particular item to add it to that weeding criteria. So now that that's all set up, I'm going to go ahead and click save, and we have our criteria all set up with everything. So now that that's done, I'm just going to close out of this, and we're going to close out of this again, and I'm going to log out. Now we're going to do this from the perspective of a normal staff member. So we have another staff test member that we set up here called Livy Bobby. I'm going to type everything in real quick. You would log in as normal, as if you were just going into Leap. And the second thing that you're now going to do, which is going to be very important, is as a staff member, now that the weeding template has been set up for you, you're going to want to make a weeding record set like we mentioned before. So in order to do that, you're again going to go to this new drop-down list, select record set, and it's going to ask you for a particular record type. If we click this drop-down menu, you'll notice that there's a new weeding record type here. So if we click that, another option for weeding templates is going to show up. If I click the drop-down menu, you'll see a bunch of the different options and templates that we have here. For some of them, they even show the date, which is going to be cool because if you can see and notice that there's a template that's outdated, it'll let you know that the date is there. But in this case, we're going to be looking for the old Juve fiction. So we're going to click that. And then we're going to hit OK. All right, so now we're in the section where we can make our record set. So as normal, when it comes to making a record set, we can set up a name for it. So I'm just going to say, again, Livy old Juve fiction. And then we can have a note here as well in order to kind of describe what this record set is for. Once we have the record set, we can be able to go into the find tool, or you can actually scan in a particular item, and we'll go into that in a bit on why that's kind of a different function. But for now, we're going to use the find tool. We already have it set to item record, and for the sake of this example, I'm going to give somewhat similar parameters here. So I'm going to set my parameter to assigned branch again, because we're going to be looking for, again, items in Livingston. All right. Then I'm going to select the search filter again. And you'll notice here at the top, there's a few automatic search filters that are set up here for the weeding record set. You have your assigned branch here, and you actually can't click out of it, which is really cool because that ensures that you can't set up record sets for any other library. Since we're signed in as Livingston, it's automatically going to default to Livingston as our assigned branch. And then you have the circulation statuses here as well. And then you also have e-content and ILL that are set to no. From here, we're going to add our conditions. And again, we're going to make it similar to what we just did before, but we're going to kind of make a quick change to it. So first, we're going to do first available date again. And we're going to set this to 1900. For the sake of this example, though, we're actually going to set this last one to February so we can see what happens if something doesn't fit in the criteria of the weeding template. And let me change this to 2019 as well. Next up, we're going to do, again, last circulation date as well. So let me go ahead and find that here, and then we'll set it to the same or similar date range as well over here.
Well, just remember that we're not going to use February as the example. We're going to use including juvenile nonfiction to show something that's outside of the criteria.
Gotcha. Okay. So in this case, for the collection, we're going to set that as our last one as well. And from here, we're going to look for something, again, that's outside the criteria, like Margaret just mentioned. So we're going to use juvenile nonfiction. All right. So now that that's the case, we're going to go ahead and hit apply.
Sorry, Will.
Yeah.
Fiction as well, just not, you're adding in nonfiction. So you still need fiction.
Oh,
but
gotcha,
yeah,
gotcha.
we're just adding in nonfiction. Yep.
There we go. All right, so now that that's applied, we have our filter all set up with that. And from there, we can go ahead and hit the search button to search up any records that fit that filter. And similar to what we do with a lot of other record sets, we can just select any items here that we want to add. So I'm just going to do the first about like 10 item records here. All right. And from here, let me just take a look at this. So these are actually going to be all juvenile fiction. Let's see what happens when we open them all up. So as you see, as I open them, there's 4 titles here that are saying that they're outside of the criteria. And because of that, they're immediately removed from the record set when I added them. So that's a really cool option. Because of the fact that they didn't match that criteria, they're not going to show up into the record set here. One thing to note as well, however, if an item doesn't fit the criteria, but you still want to fit it or force it into the record set, you can just scan that item in this field here and scan the barcode, and then it'll automatically be set in the record set. To know that this is happening, you'll notice that there's this exclamation point column here. And if there's something that's like showing that there's the column is filled in, that means that that was an item that was forced into the record set, despite the fact that it doesn't fit the criteria. Okay, so now that we have our record set all set up, I'm going to go ahead and go to the action, or go ahead and save that. So now that we have everything set up, we'll save it. This is our new weeding record set, and it's been created. And the last thing that we want to do before we go ahead and go to the next step is we're going to click the actions drop down. And you'll notice that there's two new options here for submit for review and submit for approval. Now, submit for review is an option that Innovative set up just in case if you want that two-step authentication or two-step approval process where you would have to submit for review, somebody would have to check the review, and then after that, they would have to submit for approval. If you want a quicker one-step process, then you can just go ahead and select the submit for approval. So in this example, I'm going to select submit for approval. Now that we click that, you'll notice here that the status has changed to approval requested. And from there, we can now close this out and log out so we can log back into the supervisory staff member again. So I'm going to type in their credentials now. Hit continue. All right, and now we're back into the supervisor staff member's account. From here, if you want to look at anything that's been requested, you're going to go to the utilities drop-down menu, and there's going to be a new section for approval dashboard. From there, we can go ahead and click approval dashboard, and you'll notice here for weeding requests, we have a few requests here. This is the one that we just created, so I'm going to go ahead and click this one. And then from there, we can go ahead and approve it or decline it. And just to show what happens, we can also click into this to be able to see the records as well and look at the record set, look at all the information here. And then as well, you can also access the ability to approve and decline that request in the actions drop-down menu as well. If I were to go ahead and approve this, we can look at these items and let's say that they're all good for weeding. I can click the actions drop-down menu, hit approve. It's going to give me a pop-up saying, are you sure that we want to approve this? I'll hit continue, and then you'll see here that the status changes from available to withdrawn for these item records. So that's kind of the process that would happen when it comes to weeding. And it's a really cool workflow that, again, continues to kind of create collaboration between supervisory staff members and then normal staff members. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and then we'll go back to the slides here. And we have a live poll that we're going to talk about. Before we start, does anybody have any questions?
This is the wrong poll, Will.
Oh.
I'm not sure how that got mixed up, but.
Yeah. There we go. Sorry about that. So here's the live poll for weeding workflow. But before we go ahead with that, does anybody have any questions?
So Tatiana asked, is there a way to send the approval to a specific supervisor?
I don't believe so. I believe all supervisors are going to have the option to be able to see that request if they have the supervisory permission set on their account.
All right, so I'm going to put the poll up. You guys are going to see it in the bottom right of the screen. There's a chat icon, and next to that, there's three shapes, square, circle, and a triangle. So it should show up down there when you click that.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. Okay, so with that being said, I think we can go ahead and go to the next feature. So I'll pass it off to Luke, and he'll start explaining he'll start explaining custom URLs.
All right, so in this release of Leap, there are two websites or URLs we can put in the utilities menu. Now these have to be there for the whole, for every library, they're all the same. So we can't, ideally they could be like specific, so every library could pick which links they wanted, but this is universal, and they're in the utilities menu. So we're trying to decide what are the best two links to have there, pretty much, that would be most useful for the most people. On the circulation committee, we talked about having a link to the patron barcode change form, because that's something that's until Overdrive and the e-content is integrated and talks to each other, when the barcode, as you all know, changes in the ILS, it has to also be manually changed in Overdrive. So we thought that might be something that's frequently used. And then the other one is Buckles Connect, since that's our internal intranet where all the documentation and resources are stored for all the staff members. So I'll just go into Leap real quick and show you where this is. So right here under delivery slip generator, these are the two areas that we can customize. So this one goes to Buckles Connect, and then this one goes to the barcode change form. And well, it goes to the support form. We had written barcode change form, so it would prompt people to go to it, but instead it just goes to the support form, and you would have to go down and go to this section of it. So that's kind of where those two things are, and we wanted to see what for this next poll, if those two links are the are good. And then I'll also put up the poll: should the patron barcode change form just say Buckle support form, and keep it simple. So.
Do you want to just reiterate where you're seeing the polls? Because we only got 30 out of 60 votes for the last poll.
Yeah, so it should be in the bottom right of the screen. Well, can you all see my screen now, right?
Yeah, everyone can see it now.
Yeah. So these tapes right here, you click that and then go into polls here.
While we're waiting on these results, Amy asked, would you use the weeding function for only item records or for Dusty patrons too? And it is only for item records. You're welcome.
All right. Well, if people are still voting there, we can go on to the waiver request workflow. So I'm going to pass it back to Will. And if you have a question as we're going, just raise your hand or feel free to put it in the chat or speak up.
All right, let me go ahead and present again. Okay, so our next feature that we're going to show today is waiver request workflow. So again, this is another workflow that you can have set up, and that was enabled in Polaris 7.5. And we're just here to show you how it would work and how you would end up liking it if you were able to use it. This again goes into the perspective of supervisory permissions and then staff members that have normal permissions. So let's see how this works from this background here. Staff without supervisory permissions can submit a waiver request for any patron's fines. Patrons will then see a waiver request in their account under the fines and fees tab. Staff with supervisory permissions can approve or then deny the waiver request. And the staff member who made the request can see the history in the patron's account, including if it is approved or denied. So this is something that we're also going to be sending to the P&P committee so that they can review it for its feasibility and see if this is something that's going to work regarding our policy with not waiving fines from other libraries. So with that being said, I'm just going to do another quick demonstration just to show you how this would work. So we're going to go back to Leap again, and I'm just going to log out, and we'll go ahead and sign in with a staff member that has a normal permissions assigned to their account. Great. All right, so in this example, we have our staff member, Bobby from South Orange. He's going to, in this case, look up Bobby Tarantino, so he's literally looking up himself. And as we log in and look into their patron record, you'll notice that there's some fees here. If we click here, we can see that there's a charge for a printing charge that was assigned to their account. So in this case, if I were to click that particular charge, you'll notice at the top we have a new button that says waiver request. If we go ahead and click that, it's going to show the amount that we want to be waived. There's going to be a reason that we need to select. And in this case, we only have waive requested. And then we can also type in a note that can notify the staff member that's going to be looking into this, essentially what's going to be happening and why this waive needs to be requested. So once that's all set up, we can go ahead and click the request waiver button. And then from there, you'll notice here that there's a new check mark next to that charge saying that the waive has been requested for that one. If we go to the pack here, I'm just going to log in as Bobby really quickly. Catalog's a little slow today, but once we log in, we're going to, this is essentially us as a patron going into our account. And if we go to the fines and fees tab here, you'll note here that we have these two charges for printing. And if we click the I button, you'll see here that there was a waiver request set up for this initial charge. There's only one waiver request, and it's not showing any other information except for the fact that there is a waiver request currently going. In terms of the fact, it also shows the staff's name as well, the staff member's name. So the patron will be able to see all that information there. If we go back to Leap though, I'm going to go ahead and close out of this and then log out. And then we'll log back in using our supervisor staff member. All right, and continue. And once this finishes loading, we're going to actually go back into that utilities drop-down menu to look for what we're going to get. It's going to actually be under the same approval dashboard. So if I go ahead and click approval dashboard, there's actually another section here for waiver requests. And if I click that, you'll notice that there's a few waiver requests here again. This is the one that we recently just did. So if I checkbox it, there's going to be a button that says review where we can go ahead and click the review. A pop-up shows up showing all the information that the waiver request has been submitted for. So we have the description of the charge, the amount of the charge, and the waive that's going to be, or the amount that's going to be waived. We have the reason for it. And then if I had typed in a request note, this would show up here. Now as a supervisor, I can go into this filter or into this box to set up a decision note, or I can type in and let the staff member know why I approve of this or why I declined it. So in this case, I'm not going to type anything, but I'm going to go ahead and hit the decline button. And once I hit it, it'll remove that waiver request from my dashboard, and then you'll see the waiver request declined successfully. So Once I do that, I'm just going to close out of here and log out. We're going to go back into the staff member's account just to show what happened here. All right. And if we go back to our patron's account, and then go to the account again, you'll notice that the check mark has now disappeared. And if we click into this charge and then look at the history, you'll see here that the note says that the waiver request was declined. So this is a way that the staff member can see if the waiver request was either approved on the patron's account or declined. You'll also see that the charge is still there, so nothing was waived out. And this is a good way for the staff member to communicate to the patron if they requested that waiver. The reason why I say that is if we go back into the pack again, and let me try to see if I can refresh this. If I were the patron and pressing the I button again, you'll notice that there's another section or another tab for a waiver request, but now it's saying the supervisory staff member's name. What's really good about this, though, is it's not displaying if the waiver request was approved or declined. So this is going to be helpful to, again, protect the staff member somewhat when it comes to making any decisions on any waives. But the patron can see that it's at least like getting work done on the particular charge that they have. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close out of this, and then I'll log out. And that's essentially it for the waiver request workflow. Let's go back into the slideshow, and we do have a live poll here. So,
and let's do, we have 3 questions real quick.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then we'll do the poll, just in case that affects how people vote. So Tatiana is asking for clarification, non-supervisor staff wouldn't be able to waive any fines, including ones from their own library or just fines from another library?
I believe they wouldn't be able to waive any fines at all. They would have to do the waiver request first before they can get that fine waived. And
Closer is asking, can you see the staff member name who requested a waiver in the approval dashboard?
That's a good question, actually. Let me go back to see. I believe that we were able to see it. I'm just going to log out again. I think we actually had another waiver request in there, so we can actually check to see if that's showing up there. We're in the approval dashboard. So it looks like we can't. It does only show just the information of the patron, including the barcoded, which, like, if it was a specific charge, would show that as well.
Will, what happens if you just click it, though? If you don't click the check marks and click review, what happens if you just click that? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it just brings up.
Get to. I thought that might be a link to the patron's account. So it looks like you'd have to go to the patron's account. Is the barcode copyable from there when you click up at the top?
Yeah, it looks like it. It's a little. There we go. So yeah, you can still copy it and then paste it into like the Find tool to look at the patron record.
And then from there, I believe you look at the history to see the staff member who submitted. Yeah, so just click, not that one. Well, that one's the other one, but the one that's pending has the check mark.
Yeah.
And you click that history and you can see the most recent submission. Since we've been testing this out, we have a lot of submissions. Yeah. The most recent submission you can see was Sora Bobby.
Yeah, and I guess that's good because you might want to, if there's a waiver request, go into the patron's account anyway to kind of see what's going on with their account. You know,
lay of the land.
Yeah. So another question we have, Ariana is asking, would this waiver request only apply within the same library, or would it be active between libraries?
Will, you could go back to your slide. We tried to make that clear on that first bullet point. A waiver request, any waiver request for any patron's fines. So any fines, any libraries. And that is how it is set up. That's not how we set it up. That is how it works.
And on the same point,
I'm sorry, I may have misspoke. Our survey may be asking whether it should be this way or not. All these permissions are swimming in my head.
And on that same point, Tatiana is asking, can there just be a way to lock the ability to waive fines that aren't from your library?
No, we asked about that because we would have liked to see that.
And Amy's asking, can you set a maximum threshold of what a staff member can waive so you don't have a million waiver requests to approve each morning?
I believe we did set that. We would have to, that would be a policies and procedures discussion. Refresh my memory, Luke and Will, but I believe we set that to something pretty high, right? So we can always lower it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Amy, we'll make sure we have that answer before the next PMP meeting if we end up discussing this at the next meeting.
And Tatiana's saying, is there a way to remove the function for patrons to see the history on their end? I don't believe there is.
No.
Yeah, no.
Go to the survey just to remind me how we worded the. Yes, okay, so the functionality is that all patrons, excuse me, or all staff can, that have this waive function attached, have the ability to waive for any patron from any library, and it's all fines no matter what we do. But the question in the poll is, should we have a policy that says they should only do it for their own patrons? So we can't prevent them by functionality, but we can try to prevent them by policy. So the current policy still says that, you know, you can't waive other libraries' fines, so that still prevails. But yeah, the question is, should there be the yes, the second bullet point, yes, but policy should limit it to their own patrons is one option if you want to say yes, but you want it to work that way. One more question, I think. Amy says she's putting it on the list. Yep.
Asking, can there be a notification option which advises of all waiver requests?
There's not a notification option at all.
No,
so.
Yeah.
And just for clarification, the second poll option saying only your fines and your patrons?
Yeah, because current policy already says only your fines. So then, yes, it would, again, functionality, it wouldn't limit them. We can't do that yet. But the, yeah, the poll, so, yes, I will start from the top. Yes, a yes answer would say, okay, we know we can only do our own items fines as per policy, but I think we should be able to submit waiver requests for any patron. The second one says policy should limit it to our own patrons. We're only doing our own patrons fines for our own library's items because that is current policy. And a no vote says we shouldn't enable this at all. Staff should still all be allowed to waive, and they should use their discretion and only do it for their own items, as policy states. Because we don't have to enable this feature at all, frankly. But yes, somebody asked earlier if staff would be able to waive still, and no, they won't. Only the supervisors would if this is enabled.
Yeah. All right.
Tatiana's asking about changing the answer in the poll. Now that there's clarification.
Just make a note. Yeah, make a note for when you download the results and you just manually change it.
Mhm.
Just to be clear, what change are we making, Tatiana? If you don't mind not being anonymous.
Okay, no, not enabled at all.
Same for Sam.
Okay.
And same for Basley. Sorry if I butchered your name.
All right, Catherine too. Okay.
All right.
And we will be, by the way, we will be downloading the chat transcript. So we will have a record of all of the changes in votes as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing.
All right, so the next feature we're going to go over is age display in the patron record. So the feature here is patrons with a specified birth dates in their record will now have their age displayed as well. So it's really important to clarify, in bold, like if you're not using the birth date field, which is completely optional, then you don't have to worry about it. Age is dependent on the birth date being filled out. So nothing will display if you don't use birth date. Some libraries do and have asked for it. So that's why we're going over it. So there's two areas this is going to show. In the patron record, when you click the patron info button, it will also then show the age next to the birth date. And when doing a quick search using last name, first name, it's going to show the birth year. So I'm going to show you these two examples right now. So here in Bobby, our test patron, on the info button right now, it will show the age next to the birth date. And then on the quick search, as it fills out, you can see it shows 1980 next to his name here. So those are the two areas it shows up. And then for the poll, see, we wanted to, all right, let me launch it. So the poll says for patrons who have a birth date entered, do you want the age to continue to display in the patron record? And Kathy's asking, can the age only be shown for patrons under 18? I don't believe so. It's an all or nothing thing. But that's a really good question. If you want that just to be the demarcation.
Again, it only applies to libraries who use birth date. So if you're a library who doesn't even use birth date, you don't really even need to answer the poll because it doesn't apply to you. But I guess you could. But there's certain libraries that use birth date, but a lot don't. Yeah, so Angela's comment, we only collect date of birth for juveniles, then it would only display for those. Well, they're going to eventually become an adult. And unless you remove the birth date when they become an adult, it will still display. Again, Kathy, if there's no birth date, it's not going to apply. So if when you move a juvenile card to an adult card, you remove the birth date, then you're fine. I don't believe we ask for birth date anymore. We did change that, right? Lucanwell?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe that's optional.
Yeah, I mean, it's there, but it's not required.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure you're reviewing all these accounts before, they're going live, and you can always remove it for adults.
All right, so now we can go on to the one of the best features of 7.5, and that's automatic clearing of record locks.
All right, here we go. So yeah, as Luke just mentioned, this is definitely a really exciting feature that we were looking into when it came to this update. And we've received a lot of tickets over the last few months just from libraries wanting to get their record lots manually removed just because of the fact that for some cases, staff members can leave open locks and open up records and stuff. So just to go through the background of everything, the ILS locks records to prevent two staff members from editing information at the same time. We don't want anything to have conflicting information within the database, so that's why the ILS automatically does this. If a record isn't closed properly, this will prevent other staff from being able to work with that record, which is the biggest problem that we've been seeing. So with this new feature, this will allow record locks to automatically be cleared after a specified period of time. Currently, the record locks that we set the feature for, it'll clear after they have been open for 12 hours. So just to keep in mind as well and make it clear, if a record has been open for 12 hours, then the record lock will be removed or will kind of close down on its own. It doesn't close every single record after 12 hours. It will remove only records that have been open for 12 hours. We still recommend, however, that staff should close out their records when they're done using them, but this is definitely going to be helpful for that. And I think we've noticed just a change in the amount of tickets ever since enabling this. There hasn't been too many tickets about needing to remove record locks. But again, if you do have any issues, if you do need a record lock removed, please let us know and we'll continue to manually remove them for you. So we have a live poll here. So should the record locks be cleared earlier than 12 hours?
All right, and let me put it on. So it's live now. You guys can vote.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you guys can just chat some ideas for a time length. We had a lot of people saying between 1 and 2 hours in the last webinar.
Yeah, I think 1 hour was what everyone majority said.
Yep.
Tatiana is asking, does it apply to all records or just item records? So this is all records.
I like that, 26 minutes. I vote 26 minutes.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing.
Okay, I think it's pretty clear what the setting is going to be.
All right, so the next feature we're going to talk about is staff, when you're logged in as staff member, timing out. So along with, as we have more and more permissions and different types of accounts, well, one of the reasons we put it in for the first place is for security. And so along that line, having a timeout is helpful if someone forgets to log out. So this new feature will time out any staff member that are idle for more than 1 hour. And this is in the browser. So if you have in the browser window, so if you have window open, Leap is in one tab, and then you have Buckles Connect in another tab, and you're in Buckles Connect, it won't time you out. So it's really for if you are away from the computer and it's not detecting any activity in the browser. And it will do a kind of a countdown when it gets close to timing out. And it's the same you see on, like banking websites or financial institutions. If you're logged in, it will say like, hey, are you still there? And you need to either say yes to continue the session or say, or it will log you out. And this is also already active on the catalog in your in patronage accounts. When you're logged into your account and you go away from the computer, it will log you out automatically. So since we can't demo this live, we have a screenshot of what it looks like here. So for the poll, we just wanted to get an idea what the timeout should be. So let me stop presenting. So the options are, let me launch this, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour, or more than 1 hour. And if you vote for more than 1 hour, just like we did before, you can put in the chat kind of how long you think it should be.
I think we have a question from Tatiana. She said, is this something that needs to be either enabled or disabled across the board, or can individual staff adjust this in their specific settings or for a specific library? I believe, unfortunately, it's something that would have to be enabled or disabled across the board. There's nothing specific for right now.
Yeah, ideally it could be more workstation specific, because you might want the timeout to happen on the CERT computers that are shared, but then if it's an office computer that's used by the same person all day, it's not important in that situation. So one thing we've noticed though with features that Innovative comes out with is they'll come out with the feature and improve it over time based on our feedback and other libraries that use the software. So hopefully that's something in the future that's enabled.
Elias just asked as well, for the patron, timeout is applying to the regular catalog now and not just kiosk. It's actually for both, I believe. The regular catalog should time out, and then the kiosk should time out after 5 minutes of use if it's idle. So
I think they're different time frames, though.
Yeah.
The point of the kiosk is that it's like a shared kiosk and people are, walking up to it and walking away, so that it's shorter. I think you're right in that it's 5 minutes, but it's shorter than the regular catalog.
Yep.
All right, so the next part we're going to go over is pickup areas.
All right. So this next feature was another one that we were really excited about when hearing about Polaris 7.5. This is for pickup areas. And just to go over the background and kind of explain what this would mean, this new feature allows libraries to designate multiple pickup areas within their library instead of having to add a new branch in the ILS. So recently we've had to do that in order to create a more seamless system when it comes to creating multiple pickup areas for curbside or for using the locker. However, this would be kind of the new thing for it. Currently, all libraries would have to use all pickup areas. However, if we were to enable this, we would need this feature enhanced so that libraries can choose which pickup areas to enable. So that's something that we're kind of looking into. And then secondly, this is not available for Vega Discovered yet. So before we can be able to roll it out, we would have to wait for that to happen. Once these become available for both Vega Discover and libraries have the ability to choose their pickup areas, libraries will be surveyed after that point to see which pickup areas they would like to be added. On top of that, until this is rolled out, we'll continue to use the current method that we have of adding a new branch and then offering alternative pickup locations. So yeah, that's definitely something that we're going to continue to look into, and hopefully we can get those features set up. However, I can still show you a demo of what it's going to end up looking like, and you'll kind of see that it's similar to what we have right now with the system, but with a few different changes. So let me go out of here, and then we're just going to first off show you two examples in which this is going to happen. First up, we have the example of using it in the pack. So as a patron that's logging in, we're going to log in again into our pack account, and we're going to try to set up a hold request for ourselves using the pack right now. So I'm going to use Bobby T again. And in this example, we're going to use Diary of a Wimpy Kid to set up a hold request for him. So I'm just going to select this random one right here. And as you can see, there's now a new field for pickup area. There's the normal field of pickup library, but we have pickup area right here. So in this case, to kind of give you an example of how things would work, if things weren't enabled on the pickup library, and if the library didn't have any enabled pickup areas, this is what it would essentially look like. So if I chose West Orange, for example, and then we did a drop down, you'll notice here that it says none because they don't have any pickup areas available. However, with an example like using Oakland as our pickup library, they do have pickup areas in this example. So if I click the drop down menu, you'll see here that there's an option for curbside and locker. I'm going to go ahead and click curbside. And being the patron, again, everything kind of works similarly. You can still set up your activation date for your hold request. But once everything is all set up, we can go ahead and click the submit request button, and our hold request will then be created as normal. Now that the hold request has been created, we can go into our list of hold requests, and you'll notice here everything's pretty much the same with the status of pending showing up in the title. But you'll also notice here that the pickup library is assigned Oakland Public Library -curbside. And this happens for every type of pickup area that you were to set for this. So this is a really cool option here. If you wanted to change up the pickup area, you still have that option and it still works similarly. If I was to select the hold request here by clicking this checkbox button and then clicking the change pickup location button below it, you'll notice here there's again another field showing the new pickup area. So in this example, let's say that Bobby again still wants to go to Oakland to pick up their item, but they don't want to have it be curbside anymore. I can just set it to be none so that they can have to go inside and pick up that item. And if I go ahead and hit submit, it will say that the hold request has been changed. And you can see here now it's only defaulting to that Oakland Public Library, where Bobby will have to actually go inside and pick it up. So that's how essentially a patron would be able to do that on the pack. Going back into Leap, however, if we were a staff member that wanted to set up a hold request for a patron, this is how we can do that. So it'll work similarly to what we did before as well. I'm just going to type in Sora.Bobby's credentials here. And we're going to log in as normal. And again, for this example, let's say that Bobby is the patron we're going to be creating a hold request for. We're going to go into that patron record here. And once it finishes loading, from there we can go into the holds tab. Looks like it's currently locked, but either way, we can go ahead and go into the holds tab and set up a new hold for them. We're just going to ignore this block for the time being. But as you can see here, there's a new pickup area option, again, similar to what we saw in the pack, where staff members can be able to select that. A glitch that we actually noticed while testing, and we just wanted to let you guys know, despite the fact that West Orange doesn't have pickup areas enabled, this is still showing up, which is something that we are going to let Innovative know so we can get that figured out. But we're just going to use Oakland again as our example, and this time we're going to use Locker. From here, we can set up our hold request as normal, make sure the activation date and expiration date is all good, and then we can use our find tool to do a bibliographic record search and place a hold request on the bibliographic record. So we'll do Diary of a Wimpy Kid again. Click open. This all populates into these fields, and we can go ahead and place the hold. From here, you'll notice that we have the first hold request that we just made, and this is the Oakland Public Library Locker version now. So as you can see, that's different pickup area is always shown there. And then if we want to change the hold request again as a staff member, we can just go ahead and click into the hold request record. And then this drop-down menu right here allows us to change it for them as well. So if they don't want to pick it up from the locker anymore and they want to pick it up inside the library, we can just set that to none, hit save, and then you'll see here that it's now changed to being only for the Oakland Public Library. So that's pretty much it for the pickup areas. It's an interesting tool, and it's something that we're really excited to have, but hopefully we can get that all squared off and iron out the kinks before we release it to everybody in the consortium.
So some questions. Well, Tatiana's asking, does it change how the hold slips print out and how they look, showing, where the hold request is, the pickup area request?
We haven't tested it out yet, but from what I'm seeing, if it's going to display the pickup branch, it's most likely going to say like Oakland Public Library -library on the receipt as well, so that you can be able to figure out and define if that's going to be an item for pickup. We're going to still test it out to make sure that that's the case. But
why don't we just check in an item and check in a copy of Diary of a Wimpy Kid and see if it pops up, because the hold's there.
Yeah, gotcha. Let me set this back up in the pickup area. Let's see. Guess film now. No.
No, go to the bib or go to Satisfied By and find a copy that could satisfy it.
Gotcha, yeah. There we go. And then do check-in.
Yeah, as long as they haven't restricted it, it should.
That didn't work.
Well, it looks like we don't have any of the slips set up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No, not fine receipt, just in transit and hold for everything.
Gotcha. Let's do. Yeah.
That should be good for now. Mm-hmm. Save that. Yeah. Okay, so it doesn't say it here anywhere, but let's see if when it's checked in at Oakland, it says it. Sure. So go ahead and copy that barcode. You still have it copied, right? Cancel that. And can you change your workstation to Oakland when you log in as Bobby? Is that possible or no?
I don't believe so.
South Orange.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So are you able to still use Oakle Circ on these, or did that wipe out since we?
I believe that was wiped out with the sync, yeah.
We'll follow up when, on this.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll continue to test this just to make sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's not live yet anyway, but.
Yeah. Let me just close these out real quick.
But yeah, for this function to, when it is live, if it were to be implemented, it would have to have the pickup area on the hold slip.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so next up we have declaring an item damaged from the patron record.
Before we move on, I think we have a few more questions. Let's see here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It looks like Kathy said after the item arrives at the library, will the patron still be able to change the pickup area?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Because we allow that now.
Mm-hmm.
And Danielle has a really good question. I was thinking the same thing. If it says none, it might be a little confusing. So can it be changed from none to walk-in?
Mm-hmm.
So they aren't, the patron knows.
We can submit that as an enhancement request. It's not something we can currently change.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Laura and Adele said the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like Kathy asked, why don't you change the pickup branch to the owning branch?
About that. Yeah, our database just hasn't synced yet. So currently South Orange still is not holdable for anything. So it refuses to fill any requests we place.
Yeah.
It's just because the databases haven't synced yet, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go over declare damage. All right, so this new feature allows staff members to declare damage. All right, there's a couple things we're going to show. So this is the first one. So to declare damage from the patron record. In the past, to declare an item damaged, you had to declare it lost and then add notes about the damage. So it was kind of complicated. And then this new feature allows you to do it straight away. And of course, PNP will need to review the workflow as it relates to any current or future policy. So in the test here, I'm going to go into Bobby's record. And what I can do is go into any of these and declare the item damage. So let's do salt, a world history. If I select the item and go to more, wait, why is that not? Well, it might be because you might have, or Margaret, are you? It might be because you're on the same record.
Which record?
Bobby.
Oh, do I maybe have it? I'm sorry about that. I may have it open. I have to check.
Yeah, it's open under the Oakland user.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have it. No, I don't have it open. That's weird.
Let's see. I'm taking a look to see if we can manually.
Yeah, because I don't have it open actually.
Try refreshing it, Luke.
Okay, it's
you
good
go.
now.
Yeah.
Declared damage isn't showing up. I'm not sure why it's not showing up, but this area where it's grayed out, declare damaged, you'd select the item click declare damaged, and then it would bring up the screen where you could charge it to the account or pay it right there on the spot. And then,
Can you just try a different item?
yeah, I tried a couple different ones.
That's really strange, yeah. Are you able to show this, Will?
Yeah, let me see if I can go ahead and do it.
Oh, Tatiana saying clear damage was live. It was working for overdue items only.
I don't know that that was our experience, but or why that would be the case.
It does work for me, so I can show it. Really.
Yeah, go ahead and
Okay,
share.
great.
Yeah, I don't know why I was doing it before, but all right. So here we are. We have one of our items here. If I click the checkbox next to it, you'll notice that all of these boxes light up. And then from here, we can go ahead and click the declare damaged, as we were saying before. This will pop up with that normal pop-up we have when it comes to item damaged. And then from there, we can either pay it if the patron is in front of us, waive it, or charge it to the patron's account. From here, I'm just going to go ahead and select charge. And then we can go ahead and click OK from there. It's only going to charge the replacement cost in this case. And then from here, you can see in their account, you have a note that says declared damaged.
And it would work the same way if there was, if it was late, it would only charge the replacement cost. It wouldn't charge both.
So I just sent you a picture of the hold slip, and it looks like they need future development for it to show the pickup location.
Susan was asking if there was a note field to go into more detail what the damage was. So that is at the declared damage at check-in. So maybe we could jump to that part.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let me go ahead and present again. We can show that.
Yeah, but she's asking about this specifically. And in this case, no, there's no note field that is attached when you do declare something damaged. Mm-hmm. That just like when you do the lost item check-in, you can't like do a note on that screen. We did submit an enhancement request to add a note to that screen, but we didn't mention the damage screen. So that's another idea to ask them for a notes field on that pop-up for declare damage.
Kathy's asking, would that follow the way declared loss works and eventually go to 4-month billing?
No, it's not. Our 4-month bill report is not set up to include a status like that. It's specifically applies to lost.
All right. So just to move on, we'll go on to our last feature here that we're going to be showing you guys today. And like Luke mentioned before, this is going to be our damaged item check-in. This new feature allows for staff to note damage to an item at the point of check-in and charge the patron for it. Damaged items that staff members find that were checked in accidentally without the damage being noticed can retroactively be charged to the patron that previously had them out as well. This is something that we're going to be also setting to the PMP committee so that they can review the workflow as it relates to any policy. So with that being said, I'll just give a quick demo, and maybe from there we can kind of get more insight on how this was essentially going to work. So I guess I can stay into our supervisory permission here, but when it comes to this, I'm going to actually have to switch to Google Chrome now that I'm thinking about it. For some reason, something on my computer is just not working well. This feature is still going to work on Firefox, so we would still recommend to use Firefox, but we're going to use Google Chrome for this example. So from here, I'm just going to sign in.
While you're doing that, I'll just go back to the chat. Kathy asks, wouldn't you want it to eventually go to billing if it wasn't paid? The Policies and Procedures Committee is reviewing this policy, any policy changes that might need to be made regarding damage. But for now, the patron gets a bill. If you charge them for it, they will be issued a bill, and they would be responsible for paying that. But Policies and Procedures Committee will, cover any other aspects of it that need to be covered regarding library to library billing.
All right. So now that we're logged into Leap currently, and we're logged in using our staff member account, we can go ahead and show the next feature. So if I click the check-in button, you'll notice that there's actually a few more options that show up here. And the main one we're going to be, looking at specifically is going to be the damage check-in. So if I go ahead and click that, you have damage check-in here. We're going to kind of give a few examples of how this would work by using a few items that our test patron has. So I'm going to go to Bobby's account really quickly. And currently he has a few items that are checked out to him. So we can go ahead and use those as examples. First off, I'm going to show you what essentially happens during the check-in when you do damage, and we'll go over what you can be able to use with this feature. So I'm going to type in our item barcode from here. And if I go ahead and hit the enter button, that's strange.
You still have it open?
I probably do. Oh man. Okay, here we go. So if I go ahead and check it in, we'll have our pop-up here for declaring the item damaged. And as you can see from here, there's a few different things that show up. You have all of the information for the item, including the patron that had the item. And then from here, you have two options that you can select. The first option says declare damage, charge and notify. And what this essentially does is a few things. First off, when you check in an item that's damaged, it's going to update the item record by putting a system block saying that the item is damaged. It will also change the status of the item to damaged as well automatically. And if we use the charge and notify option, it'll automatically charge the previous borrower's account as well.
The person that you see there, Bobby Tarantino, who has it out currently.
Yeah. So it will, in this case, because it's Bobby Tarantino as the patron, it's going to charge their account, and it's also going to notify them by giving them a bill for the damages. So that's going to get sent to the patron here. So for this example, we're just going to leave it as here. And then we also have an optional special item check-in note here where we can be able to type in all the information that we need, similar to what we were saying before, where if we need to type in a note particularly about the damage, we can set it here. So in this case, let's say dog chewed the book. From there, once we have all of our information set up, we can go ahead and click OK, and you'll notice here that the item record has been updated. So from there, we can actually click here to go inside of the item record. You'll notice that the circulation status is already set to damage now. And if we go into our blocks and notes, we have the system block automatically being assigned to this record saying that the item is damaged, and that we have a special item check-in note saying that the dog chewed the book. So this is what essentially we just wrote. If we then go to Bobby's account, you'll also notice as well that they were charged for the damages to that item. And then right here, it's saying that the notification is pending for the billing, considering the fact that the overdues and billings are sent on Wednesdays. So once that's sent out, it'll change and they'll receive that notification for the replacement cost. Going back to our check-in again, we'll just go ahead and close out this item record. We're going to use another example. This one is going to be if we were to use that other option that I showed before. So if I do check-in and then damaged, and then we type in our item barcode, close this out again, we'll be able to see this again. And there's another option for declared damage update item only. This is an option that you can select that stops any chargings or stops any notifications from being sent to a particular patron. This is only going to focus on updating the item record, and which again will change the circulation status to damaged and also set an item assigned block to that record saying that the item is damaged there. You can also add a note again describing the damage. In this case, I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to go ahead and just hit OK to show the example for this. If we again look at the item record, it's currently set to a status of damaged again. The block and note is showing that system block. But if we go to Bobby's account, you'll notice on his account there hasn't been any changes. There hasn't been any replacement costs that have been added onto his account at all. So from there, you can see that this is only going to update that item record. All right. And then lastly, we wanted to just show one more example that was an interesting thing that we wanted to kind of adhere to and show you guys. So I'm going to use the find tool to just look up a random item record. So let me just do a search. And let's do this one. So this item, as you can see, it's available. So I'm going to take this barcode and we're going to try to check this in. I want to also note that the borrower is just some random borrower. And you can see that the circ date was from a long time ago. So this is from 2019. So keep that in mind when it comes to this last use. But if we were to go into the check-in and then do another damage check-in again. Oh, I keep forgetting to close out the item record. If we go ahead and do that again, it'll bring this up. And it's really important to remember this, but as we can see, it's showing the previous borrower's patron name here. And that's really important to remember. If you do a damage check-in for an item, it's always going to, place that charge onto the previous borrower. So that's really important to keep in mind because in this case, this is an item that wasn't used for 5 years about. And with that being said, this could have been an item that wasn't damaged when the patron checked that item in previously, and maybe it got damaged over the 5 years that it was on the shelves. So it's important to remember that and keep that in mind. You could possibly charge a patron accidentally because you noticed that this item was damaged and you just wanted to check it in and set it for a status of damaged. So in this case, we can use that other option to update the item only. So it's really important to look at that and kind of pay attention when it comes to when it was last charged or when it was last borrowed, so we don't apply any replacement costs to a patron's account that didn't damage the item. So just going to hit OK. And then again, if we go into that item record, see here that the status has changed to damage and our blocks and notes notify that the item is damaged here. All right. So that's pretty much it for the damaged item check-in. I'm going to close all of these out. And let's go back here for our live poll.
We have 3 questions.
If anybody else has any questions, you can also type them in the chat as well so we can answer them.
Yeah, we have 3 questions. So before the poll, let's go over these.
Yep.
So Kathy's asking, would that be used if you receive a damaged item for a hold request? And Tatiana is asking similar, the slide mentioned a retroactive update. Does this mean you can declare an item damaged and charge the last borrower if you receive an item from transit that is damaged and was therefore checked in and removed from the patron record? So yeah, I believe with those two, it would be the latter example that we showed.
Mm-hmm.
And then Corinne asked, could that default be changed to mark the item damage rather than charge the patron? So the staff would have to select charge the patron and make it just reverse the two. I don't think that can be changed, but it's something we can request.
Yeah.
Let me write that down so we can.
Well, we'll have the chat's transcript as well.
Yep.
And so with that being said, this is the live poll that we're going to send out. Should the damaged item check-in be enabled after review by PNP? And then here are our options here. As long as PNP reviews it, this is going to be a useful feature. So yes, no, we shouldn't use this at all, and then unsure.
And that kind of addresses the last question there. You can use this on other libraries' items. That would be something that PNP could, in this case, you might consider selecting yes, Roseanne, as long as PNP reviews it, because they can decide whether or not staff should be able to do it on their own items or not, because we can restrict it to only your own items.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing. Now we're just going to leave it open for any open questions. If anybody has anything else they would like to ask, please feel forward.
The last minute we have.
Thanks, Danielle. Thanks for coming.